Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to the Stanley Dyrector Show. We have one heck of a show for you guys today. My guest is Johnny Dark. Johnny Dark's an actor, a comedian, a singer, a songwriter. He just played Vegas at the Riviera Hotel, and he's going to tell us about his life. But first, I want us to hear a song by Johnny Dark. So, Mr. Johnny Dark, when you are ready, and when our wonderful director, Karen Lee, has the opportunity, we're going to let Mr. Johnny Dark sing.
I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. I've got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I'm in love. I've got a song that I sing, I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. Lucky me, can't you see, I'm in love. Life's a wonderful thing, as long as I hold the string. I'd be a silly so-and-so if I should ever let it go. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around my finger. What a world, what a life, I am in love. Life's a wonderful thing, as long as I hold the string. I'd be a silly so-and-so if I should ever let it go. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around my finger. What a world, man, this is the life. Hey now, I'm in love.
Bravo, 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 bravo. Johnny Dark, I'm going to quit the show right now. I'm leaving. I'll never be back in town again because you are unbelievable. I mean, what is this? I mean, what are you doing on my show? I mean, for crying out. Actually, I appreciate you being
Can I be
on
honest?
my show. Yeah, tell me why you're on my show. Be honest.
The money. There's a lot of money here, ladies and gentlemen. People don't know that about Stanley Dyrector, but he pays a lot of money. I had a cup of coffee and a half a donut. Where can you get that these days?
You can't beat it. I mean, you've done so much. Here's a couple of films. Luxury of Life, Luxury of Love, The Other Side of Hope, Partners, The Fair, Dead Man on Campus, Repossessed, Wishful Thinking, television, The Norm Show, Alice, Touched by an Angel, Shasta, The Strip, Roseanne, Baywatch, The Bonnie Hunt Show, Came from Outer Space, Mama's Family. Man, you have done so many things, Johnny.
I can't keep a job.
Yep, that's right. You can't keep a job. How did you get into show business? Did you have a relative or something like that? You know, Louis B. Mayer or somebody like that?
No relatives. I grew up with an Italian family. I never knew my father. My mother passed away from rheumatic fever, so I was raised by an Italian grandmother and grandfather. And being raised by an Italian grandmother and grandfather in South Philadelphia, home of Fabian, Frankie Avalon, Bobby Rydell, Al Capone. Well, 4 out of 5 ain't bad. No, but I didn't have anybody in the business. I just grew up in Wildwood, New Jersey. After moving from South Philly to Wildwood, and I would watch entertainers, and I would love the way they were treated, musicians and singers. And I was a shoe shine boy. You can't look neat when the shoes are beat. You got the time, I got the shine. It's only a nickel and a dime. Get a shine on your shoe, and the girl will love you. Oh, I hope I didn't hurt anybody's ear.
Did you write that?
I wrote that as a little kid.
Wow. Listen, I have to ask you, what was your first paying job?
Well, actually, my first paying job in show business was as a drummer, and I made $10 a night playing drums in the area of South Philadelphia, and then Wildwood, and then all those summer places like Summers Point and Avalon, and those great places along the seaboard of New Jersey.
Well, but to be a drummer, you have to take lessons, right?
Yeah, I did. I took lessons, and I studied off Tucker Green with the Treniers, and I studied at Music City, Wallach's Music City, and I was, but I had a natural. I could just play drums. For some reason, God gave me that gift to where I could play drums. And then later in '64, when I was out here, the Beatles were out, and I had to sing as well because, in those days you had to play and sing. So that's how I started.
Yeah, well, I mean, which hat do you like to wear? I mean, you wear so many. Actor, comedian, singer, writer. You've written a few songs. What do you like the best?
Well, I love singing. I just did an album with Joel Diamond. I recorded Moment in Time. He produced it by Engelbert Humperdinck, and that's a great love of mine. To be working with Joel Diamond was a great experience. I love singing. I love the stand-up comedy, like I headlined in Vegas at the comedy clubs there and all over the country. But there's something about acting that has touched my body because as an actor, you have a fourth wall, meaning you can do the scene again and again and again. You can get involved in the character and become the character. As a stand-up comic, it's very tough because you have to break the fourth wall and you have to deal with the people in the audience. A fourth wall, by that I mean, as an actor, the fourth wall is where the cameraman is. And you don't know he's there because you're involved in the scene. But as a comedian, you have to break that wall because you have the audience out there and you have to relate to them. You have to talk to them. You have to deal with them. A lot of times you go on, there's a drunk heckler out there, and you have to deal with that.
But I mean, playing Vegas is the ultimate, isn't it, for a stand-up comic? I mean, besides wearing all those other hats, how do you deal with a jaded audience in Vegas? But there's great money, though.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
that's the,
it's just not the money. They're great audiences, too. You have to realize that people in Las Vegas aren't going home that night. They're in Las Vegas. They are going out. They're excited to be there. You got the best lights, the best sound, the best technicians. You're working in a beautiful hotel, and they're happy to be here, and they're going to go gambling, or they're going out to dinner, or they're not. It's not like Atlantic City. The difference in Atlantic City is a lot of those people that come to the shows are going home on a bus later that night, and they may have lost their money. But in Las Vegas, you save your money, you fly to Las Vegas, and that's how the audiences are so wonderful because everybody's just thrilled to be there. And you will have your occasional drunk, but as a technician, you know how to deal with that.
Could you give us some of your stand-up, please? I would
Oh,
like
sure.
to.
Recently we lost Bob Hope, and I had the opportunity of working with Mr. Bob Hope on the Donnie Marie Show, and he happened to pass away the night I opened, and I made the joke, kidding, because Bob would wanted me to talk about it, and I said I couldn't believe that Bob Hope died. I mean, Bob Hope, it was so sudden. What a shock. Who would have thought? Everybody starts laughing, and I go, well, aren't we a sensitive bunch? But you think about it, Bob Hope seems like just yesterday he was on the golf course playing with President Lincoln and laughing because Napoleon had bogeyed, And I said, I'm allowed to lie about my age. See, I'm in show business, and I lie about my age like Bob Hope. Bob Hope, 100. You don't believe that. Come on. The man was 137 years old.
But I mean, then you, what is it? How long do you stand up and do your comedy?
Well, in Las Vegas, I was doing 45 minutes this last time. And you have an opening act, which is your MC. He does generally 10 minutes. And then you have a middle act, which does 15 minutes. And if there's not another act, then you get to do 45 minutes. And at the Riviera, I get to do 40, 45 minutes. And that's how long you stand up there.
How do you choose your material?
Well, from my own personal life, I write my own stuff about my life, and then also you have to watch the news. Like if there's something going on in the news, like the time Winona Ryder was arrested for shoplifting. I said, boy, did she get off easy. They should have put her under house arrest. My house would have been fine. Or these Paris Hilton sex tapes. I mean, it's awful. It's just awful that I'm not in these tapes, stuff like that. So you just you make jokes about what's going on, like Jay does and like David does.
Well, do you prepare the same way that, say, a Jay Leno does? Well, actually, a Jay Leno has 10 writers, doesn't he?
Jay has 10 writers, but Jay is also a writer, and he is the best writer on that show. Fred Willard and I do the sketches in back of them. We haven't done it in 8 or 9 months or so. But I've done about 12 of them. And it's interesting to watch Jay work with the writers, because the writers are great, and they're all my dear friends, John Romeo and Marvin and a bunch of the writers. But Jay is also the final word. You know, I mean, he'll look at something and he'll rewrite something right on stage, and he'll say, well, let's do that, and let Johnny do that, and let Fred Willard and I do the sketches. And no, but Jay's always been one of the best writers. I mean, his whole act. And we all used to run in to see Jay. You know, Jay and Tom Dreesen and Elaine Boozler and Mary Langston and Robin Williams. And we all started at the Comedy Store, and we were watching the comics that came out from New York, from the Improv, such as Steve Lannisberg and Freddie Prinz and Gabe Kaplan and Marvin Braverman. These were the guys that we were watching, David Brenner. And in the back of the Comedy Store was David Letterman and Jay Leno.
Really?
And yeah, and Robin Williams and myself and Tom Dreesen and Murray Langston. These are all my peers and people that you'll meet as you know me. You'll meet all my friends. And we started actually the comedy boom thanks to Jimmy Walker. Jimmy Walker allowed JJ allowed his name to go up on the marquee. Right. In the early days of the Comedy Store, there wasn't many people coming by. But once Jimmy Walker put his name up, because he didn't care, you know, he said, yeah, put my name up. And his name went up there, and that's when the place started really packing. And also Mitzi Shore, I'm talking about, had a tremendous love of the club. And she established a routine, who goes on first, who goes on second. We had a lineup, and she really put a lot of order to it, and there was a lot of love there, too. Mitzi really did, she treated it like a college. And, of course, everybody got their breaks out of there. And then Bud Friedman came out and opened the Improv, and then it was back and forth, and then, of course, the strike, which was a big mess for all of us, you know, when we had to strike.
Was that the SAG strike? Or?
No, that was the comic striking to get paid. You see, in the early days, Stan, we didn't get any money at all.
Oh, really?
So, no, when the Comedy Store first opened, there wasn't any money to give. I mean, really, Sammy Shore and Mitzi Shore didn't have any money because the club wasn't doing well. But after the club got on its feet and it started doing well, then we started seeing a packed house. And then she bought the Art LeBeau's, which was the big comedy room, and that was filled up. So then the word got around that maybe we should start getting some money for this. And that's when that strike happened. In fact, they're going to do a huge article. I just did an interview for Vanity Fair. They're going to do an article about the strike. And it really did tear a lot of us guys apart. But ultimately, they acquiesced, and we all got. And now comedians can go to school and get paid at night, whether it's $35 or $50. And I think in the main room, I haven't worked there in quite some time, but you still get a percentage of the door, and
Listen,
that's very important.
I got to ask you. I'm sorry to jump in.
No,
but,
go right ahead.
You know, I'm a writer, and my mother thinks my jokes are funny. So if I say you had your own TV show, like say Jay Leno, I'd write 5 jokes, right? And
yeah, geez, you know, that'd be great because, you know, it's Jay Leno. You know, you want to like these guys, like Stan. He's a good guy and everything, but jokes? Oh, jeez. I don't know, Stan. Maybe you ought to just...
Fine, but would 5 jokes be enough?
To get my buddy John Romeo writes 100 jokes a day.
No,
honest to goodness.
No.
Yeah, Marvin and Jay, John.
100 jokes.
And John tells me he's not the one that writes the most jokes. Yeah, I mean, no.
How do you?
Well, they're on the computer all day long. You know, they go through the National Enquirer, they go through all the papers, and they have to come up with the jokes about what's going on today in contemporary. Of course, Jay has to talk about. It's like we used to say, "Gee, I wonder what Johnny Carson." I remember Johnny Carson coming out every night, and he'd pretend he didn't know. He'd start off like going, "Oh no, what are we doing?" This is Johnny Carson. This is Johnny Carson for trail mix. Now, y'all know what trail mix is. That's where you get the nuts, the dates, the prunes, the figs, the fruit. You eat all that. You'll leave a trail. So, whoa!
Hey, so 100 jokes a day. Now, that is something that we as an audience did not know.
Yeah. And Jay has his head writer go through all the jokes, and then it gets whittled down to a certain amount that Jay wants to look at. And once Jay looks at those jokes, and then they have a meeting, and then they decide what, I don't know how many Jay does, because he does a very long monologue, as compared to Johnny, who in the early days I think did 7 minutes, but Jay does a very long monologue. And so he has a lot of jokes. And it's fascinating to watch Jay work. He's one of the hardest working men in show business. I mean, really, without a doubt. And it's the hardest job in show business. David Letterman and Jay Leno have the hardest jobs in show business because every night they're coming out with not tried and true jokes, not like I do. Well, I mean,
What do you mean?
Well, I have an act, as Jade has his act, which is tried and true.
Right.
David doesn't, because I don't think David works as a stand-up. I mean, he used to.
Yeah.
When we used to work at Comedy Store in San Diego, David would always say, "Oh, you go on. Let me go on first." And I wouldn't want David to go on first because David worked off the top of his head so well. But also, if there was a heckler out there, David would spark that heckler, and he'd get in a conversation. And then I'd come on, and I'd do these pieces where I would have to deal with that heckler. You see, the most important thing about a joke, Stan, is just like anything else. You have to be surprised. If you're not surprised, you can't laugh. If you know what's coming, you can't laugh. Even a bad storyteller can get a laugh if he tells the joke with a surprise ending. It's just got to be something you don't expect. It's got to be, you think you're turning right, you're gone, your blinker's going right, and then you turn left. That's what a joke is all about, surprise.
But how do you know you're funny?
Well, you know, the audiences will tell you that, and there's something instinctive. Like, I've always had my friends tell me I was funny, because growing up in South Philly after moving from Wildwood, I was with a lot of tough guys. And the only way I could make these tough guys like me was by doing other tough guys, movie star tough guys. Humphrey Bogart, yes, I knew the guy had a gun, but that didn't bother me, not Sam Spade. He loaded the gun, did that bother me? No, I stood my ground. He aimed the gun right at me, did that bother me? No, I snickered. He shot me in the face 15 times, did that bother me? Yes, that bothered me. I bled and I died. And then I would do Cagney, you know?
Yeah.
And they used to say, "Johnny, do Cagney." I go, "You dirty rat, you're the guy that gave it to my brother." I learned them off of Sammy Davis's album, you know?
Really?
Yeah, who I love, Sammy Davis would do a song, you know, "Rock-a-bye your baby with a Dixie melody, and when you croon, it better be from the heart of Dixie, or you're going to get a knuckle sandwich." And then he would, "And if it wouldn't be too much of a bother, could you swing it from Virginia with all the love and
Jimmy
the heart?"
Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart.
Give me more.
Jimmy Stewart.
Got to hear some
Okay,
more.
Jimmy
Got it.
Stewart, Wonderful Life. "Now, Mr. Potter, I'm in trouble and I need help. Through some sort of an accident, my company came up short in the loan. The bank examiner got here today, and I need to come up with $8,000 immediately. Help me, Mr. Potter, help me, won't you please? Can't you see what this will mean to my family and friends? And if you still want the old building and loan, why, there's nothing wrong with the books. I just misplaced $8,000. I can't find it anywhere. Help me, Mr. Potter. Help me, won't you please?" Q used to be so cocky. Q once called me a warped, frustrated old man, but what are you? But a warped, frustrated young man. A miserable little clerk come crawling in here on your hands and knees, no securities, no stocks, no bonds, nothing, but a miserable little $500 equity and life insurance policy. You know, George, why, you're worth more dead than alive. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do for you, George, since the state examiner is still here. As stockholder in the savings and loans, I'm going to swear out a warrant for your arrest. Misappropriation of funds, manipulations, malfeasance. Go ahead and run, George. You can't hide in a little town like this. I don't mean to go on so long.
No, hey, look, I'm not going to rent the video. I got the movie right here.
I used to do that for my kids, because
Really?
my kids...
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 beautiful kids, and my son is a director. My son has gone to the directing school. He worked for David Kelly. Dominic worked for David Kelly for about 4 years, and then he was worked with Lucy Liu for a year. And he made her digital documentary films about her traveling, and found out he's a director. And my daughter is Melissa Ann. I have to give her equal billing, you know.
Right.
And she's into computers and silk screening, and 27 and 24, and they're
Wow.
Dominic and Melissa.
You know,
my
it seems like only yesterday I used to see you and your lovely wife.
With the little baby?
And your little baby walking into Schwab's drugstore on Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah.
And, God, it still echoes in my brain somewhere.
Schwab's, for those of you out there that are new, was a place that you could be with other stars. I mean, when we came to town, I was so poor, my wife would give me $1 a day just so I could have a cup of coffee, a sweet roll, and leave 30 cents. And in that time, I could see Victor French.
Victor Mature?
Vic Tayback. Remember?
Vic Tayback,
Vic
sure.
Tayback was there, and Jackie Gale was there, and they'd always have, you know, big. I saw
Peter
Jack
Finch.
Benny.
I saw Peter Finch there,
Oh,
too.
yeah, and Columbo was there. Oh, geez. Am I bothering you? I would like to have, oh, gee. I don't mean to be cautious. He always sounds like a 45 record gone bad, don't he? I don't mean to be causing any hassles, any problems, God forbid, Shep, but I would just like to have a word with you, please, if that wouldn't be too much.
Anybody ever say you look a little like Stan Laurel?
Well, Harry, all I did was ask the lady for a slice of bread. The next thing I know, she...
Actually, no.
No,
Actually, Chuck McCann, my dear friend, who does the
Many
Hardy,
things,
yeah, as well as Hardy. No, but I guess I have that long, sort of narrow face. I've been compared to everybody from Charlie Callis to Rod Stewart to Vic Damone and Brad Pitt, who I think I look like. Nobody else. I think I look like Brad Pitt.
I have to ask you, probably in your career you've had outstanding moments.
Yeah.
Tell us a couple of them.
One was working with Bob Hope. You have to realize that I went from the Comedy Store. I auditioned for the Donnie Marie show, and it was just two people auditioning, like Michael Keaton and Johnny Dark. And we both went on, and lo and behold, I got the Donnie Marie show, and I have no idea whatever happened to Michael Keaton.
Oh, well,
I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, it
No,
takes
but
time.
one of the great experiences of my life was, of course, working with Bob Hope on the Donnie Marie show twice. He was our guest twice, and I had to do sketches with him. And he came up to me, and we only had him 2 days, and I was there 5 days. This is Orem, Utah, where we shot it. And so I knew all my lines, but Bob Hope always worked with a cue guy. So I was getting laughs from the audiences,
Right.
and Bob Hope said to me, joking, but sort of putting me in, letting me know who was boss, he said, "Very funny, Johnny, very funny. Maybe too funny." Boy, he scared the heck out of me. But then he called me in his dressing room and we talked, but that was a thrill. And of course, working with Merv Griffin. I've done about 20 Merv Griffin shows, touring with Dinah Shore. Ginger Rogers, I was on tour with her. Right. And then also working with Engelbert Humperdinck for 5 years was sort of a dream come true, because being a singer, Tom and Engelbert were just, I was huge fans of both of theirs. So,
right, but being an actor, let's get to the acting aspect. Are you an actor studio aficionado? I mean, the organic approach to acting? Or did you go and study
I studied.
I mean, did you study at the Actors Studio as well?
No, I didn't study in New York. I studied in Philadelphia at the Academy of Dramatic Art in Philly. And then I came out here and I studied with a series of people, including John Abbott, which I studied Shakespeare with James Wilder and John Lindstrom and a few ladies that I can't remember their names right now. But we would study Shakespeare with John Abbott, and we'd sit around a table like this, and we would clean up his yard and make some hot tea, and then we'd sit there for hours just doing Shakespeare. And he would explain it to us, because as a kid from South Philadelphia, I was a street kid, and I was terrified of words, because words frightened me in those days. Now words are my friends. As you know, I'm a writer. I'm writing a Civil War novel. But in those
you're
days,
a Civil War aficionado.
well, I am compared to, in my group, but compared to the Shelby Foots and everybody else, I'm probably a novice. But I'm writing a novel as a direct result of my imagination and studying the Army of the Potomac and studying the Civil War. My character is a young boy at 18, and the book is called In Highest Regard, The Memoirs from the Journal of Private Amos G. Dorman, 1861 to 1862. That's already 1,500 pages, and I'm coming to the end of that book. The next book will be In Highest Regard, The Memoirs from the Journal of Sergeant Amos G. Dorman, 1862 to 1863, including Gettysburg. And there'll be 2 more books, The Highest Regard, The Memoirs from the Journal of Lieutenant, and then Battlefield Commission and Memoirs from the Journal of Colonel. So I'll do all 4 years of the book, but in 4 years of the war in 4 books, rather than try to condense, because I've already got so many pages just dealing with my life. And he's exactly 100 years older than I am. So
Wait, our show is on the Educational Channel many times.
Right.
And we would like to know, how do you write, besides acting? I mean, we have that there too, okay?
Right.
Well, let's get to the writing aspect. Do you talk to yourself when you're writing the Civil War piece? Or are you able to, say, have a cup of coffee at a coffee shop and write? Or do you have to be isolated?
I like to go to coffee shops to write, because at home I work out. I work out at the house because I have my own gym at the house, and I need to get out in order to get out of the house. And I got my cell phone, so I take my office with me, so to speak. I like to sit in an environment such as a Starbucks or a Jerry's Deli, and I can concentrate even in a hubbub sometimes. And a lot of times I go early and it's kind of quiet. But I enjoy having that coffee, and I have to go down many, many avenues. In other words, when I write my story, I have to say, okay, what if this happened, what if this happened, and what if that happened? Here again, a book is just like a joke. common sense and surprise. This is not a mystery novel. This is not Dracula and Frankenstein. I have to take the writer down exactly what would have happened in 1861.
But don't you have to? But animation is what I mean. Animating as a writer. I mean, I know writers that they say, "Oh, okay, Joe, I'm going to shoot you," or ride the horse down there, or something like that. In other words, does your thinking just go to your fingers, or do you have to animate?
I read over the way I start writing every morning is by reading the last 3 or 4 pages. I read the last 3 or 4 pages, and I think if I'm generally getting to a battle or getting to a situation or going, I have to study the topography. I have to understand where the Army of the Potomac was at the time, what I was doing, and then in my mind, I don't necessarily, I'll kill that guy and shoot him. I do it in my mind.
Cerebral,
I do it in my mind. So. And I can see it in my mind. Luckily, I haven't had a block, which I've heard you talk about the other night watching your show. And by the way, I'm a big fan of Stan's, and that's why I'm here. I've seen him with Shelley Berman, and I've seen him with my dear friend Gary Owens. So it's a thrill for me to be here as well. And I mean that. I like to think about how am I going to surprise the reader without being stupid, without going, oh, that couldn't happen, Now, certain writers like Stephen King, that's his whole thing, making it, weird.
Right.
But my thing is common sense and surprise, just like the joke. Just like the joke. Take them down a road and then surprise them. And when they're surprised, they'll stay interested.
Give us some advice to people who want to be in the business, say in the comedy aspect of it, to young performers. What would you tell them?
Do it as much as you can and as quickly as you can, no matter where you are, no matter what town you're in. There should be a comedy club at the local place on a Friday night. If there's an open mic night, get up and do it. If you're at a college and somebody says we're having a group of guys over, get up and do it. The most important thing about that, there is no college for stand-up. You have to be battered. You have to get battered. And I'm telling you, stand-up comedy will batter you in the first early stages. I was battered. Some guys like Jay, watching Jay Leno, I never saw Jay get nervous or how he could eat 3 hot dogs and walk on stage. But it's a matter of breaking that fourth wall, and it's a matter of public speaking, which a lot of people are afraid to do, to get up in front of an audience and speak. And also you have to realize, Will Rogers says, your option, it's the hardest job in show business, is stand-up comedy. Your option comes up after every joke.
Johnny Dark, you are an amazing guest. Let's keep talking, because I wanted to ask you about, would acting be the same thing? Just don't listen to anybody, just act, or should you go to